But the weirdest thing with me, they put me in jail, then they made me take a drug education course. Oh, okay, I'll sign up for that. I ended up teaching it.
Hey, thank you for tuning in again to Walk a Mile in My Shoes. This is Eric McCoy. Please check out my other show, High Wall Clean. We work to fight the stigma of substance abuse by showing stories of hope and giving a voice to those that we've lost. I'm also the co-host of What Were You Thinking on LA Talk Radio. And as always, I'm with Lona Curie, who is the host of Recovery Soul Food. And, our guest today, I was saying it's funny, the stupidest thing that people say is he really needs no introduction, because even though it's said, you always still give an introduction. He's one of the most famous advocates for marijuana use. He is a very funny man who played Man in Up in Smoke, still smoking 6 other films with Cheech Marin. He has starred in a lot of different movies. And following their parting and television show, he's on a recurring role of That 70s Show, great show. And I was also lucky enough to see him stand up on his Free at Last tour when he first got out of prison. I also had a wonderful opportunity to see their reunion show, Cheech and Chong. And we are both very honored to have Tommy Chong. Tommy Chong, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes.
Wow.
Man, yes.
Wow, that was pretty good for a guy that didn't need any introduction.
Exactly, yeah. So Tommy, I want to tell you real quick. So this podcast that we do focuses a lot on hate. And, as we've titled this, Walk a Mile in My Shoes, as we work to just have an understanding and a particular topic that we have touched on, and the reason I reached out to your manager is the very thing that you were a victim of. And this is the longest standing war in American history, the fantastic, wonderful drug war.
Yeah. Actually, there was one longer war that everybody seems to forget, conveniently to forget. And that was the war against the native population in America. That war went on for 60 years.
Wow.
And
Absolutely.
the only reason that they defeated the natives was the fact that they attacked the villages with old women and children in it, and they also killed all the food source of the natives.
Yeah.
And that was the only reason that they didn't win. They just had them. They just they just took it. And I believe that for every action there's a reaction.
Yep.
Yes,
And so that's what we're living through. The sins of our fathers.
Absolutely.
Yes,
it's the unique thing, obviously, about this war is that we are not actually, it was declared a war on drug abuse, which technically goes to drug users, because it's difficult to fight a war against an inanimate object.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
If not impossible.
Absolutely. Hey, I was thinking it was really funny, and I just kind of, this popped in my head that Obviously in 1937, we had the Marijuana Tax Act, which they wanted to get pushed through very quickly because they knew you were coming in 1938, right?
That's right.
And you were going to object. So you're 83, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
What's your declaration on how you're making it this many years?
It's really, I know that I'm a very special person with a very special journey, that I'm still on. And, I learned, when I look at my life, because I've been doing a lot of podcasts, and when you do a lot of podcasts, you tend to discover a lot of things about yourself that previously you either ignored or forgot or just didn't want to talk about it. I was so blessed from the minute I entered this life that I was blessed with a beautiful mother that I just found out a couple of months ago that she was 20% Native. We never knew that.
Wow.
And it was a big secret in the family, because that meant her mother was half, and her mother committed suicide when my mother was like 3 years old, she was about 3 or 4 years old. My mother never got any schooling, because she was a quarter breed or Native. She was put into a domestic servant situation real early. Now, she had brothers and sisters, and they were like scattered around the country when the family broke up, when my grandmother committed suicide. So and then my mother married a Chinese, a little short. She was tall, he was short. She was mixed. We thought it was Scotch-Irish and Native, and he was like Chinese from Vancouver. And so that was the big big deal for the family back then. She married a Chinese guy.
And that's where Chong comes in, right?
That's where Chong comes in. So I've been blessed all my life with notoriety.
Yeah.
I've had people looking at me since I can remember, my earliest memories. And my mother told me that. She said, "You're very special, and people will always be looking at you. So it's up to you to show what side of what kind of person you are."
Yeah,
that's profound.
Yeah, so I was on stage. I've always
That's
been
profound.
on stage.
That's profound.
One thing that I and I love about you is, obviously your comedy. You're funny, and but you also, obviously, you're a musician.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have done a lot of stuff over the years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're busting folks in New York City, but not the evil bastards that they should. They're busting the dope smoking hippies, so along with the brothers and the others in the hood. Gotta get it legal.
And I wanted to ask, and one question that I thought this was really interesting and important for me to ask was, every drug law that's ever been passed always holds one premise, that once we see an increase within our youth, we create a new law and we increase the penalties.
Yeah.
That's just been the premise. And I wanted to ask you on that, and I kind of have a feeling, but with all the movies and stuff that you did, obviously with marijuana And you guys stuck with that. You guys never got into harder drugs.
No.
Do you think that you had any impact on our youth?
We had a big impact on the Chicanos, the Latinos with Cheech.
Yeah.
We had a big impact on my people, the Orientals, the Chinese, Koreans, anybody with the name Chong, that impacted that group of people. We had a big impact on teenagers, because of who we are, and preteens, because so many people used our movies as babysitting tools. It was either the babysitter would come over and put on Cheech and Chong, or the hip parents would say, well, okay, let's put on a Cheech and Chong movie. And they used to use our records driving to school to get the kids in a nice mood, and get the parents in a nice mood too, get them laughing and everything else. So yeah, we've had a huge impact on people. I like to think that when I was kind of a so-so songwriter, musician, but it wasn't until I met Cheech that my goal in life really became clear. Because again, it was very ordained that I met Cheech. I met him in Canada. He was up there dodging the draft, and he had, he was really looking for anything, any kind of job. He was delivering carpets. He was writing for a hippie magazine for no money, but a lot of free concert tickets. But when I met Cheech, that's when everything made sense. Who I was, because I've always known that I was destined for something. I never knew what it was. And I remember one time riding in a limousine. I've told this story many times, but it just cracks me up. I was with the Motown group, Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers. And as a kind of a reward, because we were backing up one of Berry Gordy's girlfriends, Chris Clark, he sent us to England to do a gig with Chris Clark, at some theater there. And while we were there, we ended up playing a gig in a little club called the Speakeasy. And that's where Jimi Hendrix came and sat in with the band. And Jimi Hendrix, I found out, later, that he was a big fan of the band, of Bobby Taylor especially.
Wow.
And so Jimmy sat in with us, and we played one night. It was an incredible night. He never played guitar because he's a left-handed guitar player. He played bass. Wow. And so I played guitar along with our other guitarist, Eddie Patterson, and we just had a most memorable night, all night playing with Hendrix. He never sang; he just played bass, and he sat back like a sideman. But the next day, we're riding in a limo, and the whole band, we're just talking about crazy happening. Hendrix sitting in, blah blah blah, and I blurted out, I'm going to be bigger than Hendrix. I usually don't talk, but it wasn't really me that said it. It was a spirit or something, because it got really quiet in the car, in the limo. Everybody looked at me like. And then the drummer, he wasn't a big fan of mine, and he was a very kind of a outspoken kind of guy. He said, "You're going to be big. You mean playing guitar?" And I said, then again, it wasn't me that answered. I said, "No, not on the guitar," and that was it. And that was the end of the conversation. So I knew, that my appearance here on earth is ordained.
Yeah.
And I was here on a mission, and I'm on a mission.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, now the mission, it got all clear. Because back then, everybody's thinking, marijuana, make you, kill your parents and lead the heavier drugs. It's going to just ruin your life. And it just went through all that stuff. But the funny thing is about pot, when you study it, and that's what I tell people all the time, they ask me, how can I do blah, 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 how can I do this or what you did or that. I said, you got to study, you got to learn everything you can about marijuana, learn. And then what I learned, thanks to, again, help from people, I learned how the Bible, the religion really started with marijuana, the use. When you see those Greeks, Orthodox, with the incense, they're going up and down spreading incense. Well, back in the day, that was marijuana they were burning. It wasn't just incense, to keep the bugs away. This was to get everybody in the spiritual frame of mind, which marijuana still does.
Now, as everybody knows, that this show, Walk a Mile in My Shoes, is to work to gain that understanding. And we also look for legitimacy and arguments and try to come up with facts based on the best information that we have. Now, Christians who promote legalization, they actually refer to Genesis 1:29, which says, "And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in the which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat." Now, Christians who follow the Bible's verse in a literal way, it means that cannabis is meant to be eaten, whether in oil or whether in an edible. Now, according to Lydia Decker, who is a Christian and formed an organization called Genesis 1:29, says, we're using the Bible to promote what God gave us. We say that God made the perfect medicine. Man is the one that made it illegal. Now, we do know today that marijuana has a lot of different medicinal purposes for it. The president of the organization that represents the largest evangelical group in the U.S. won't budge on calling marijuana a sin. And they basically say that the scripture speaks against drunkenness, and marijuana is a mind-altering substance with the purpose of achieving essentially what the Bible would describe as drunkenness. So possibly, though, it could be overindulgence. That's the problem, not the actual use itself. Now, listen a little later as Tommy talks about excessive use and possibly the problems behind that. And I'm also going to describe in a little bit why I don't use it. Now, how truthful is Tommy in his statement? Well, roughly 35 miles south of Jerusalem, in an archaeological site of the Negev Desert, known as Telerad, archaeologists excavating an ancient Jewish shrine have found traces of burnt cannabis and frankincense on a pair of limestone altars. And so this actually provides the first evidence that the mind-altering substance was part of religious life in the ancient kingdom of Judah. So Telerad contains the remains of the Canaanite city from the 3rd millennium BC, as well as Israelite fortresses from between the 10th and 6th centuries BC.
And it really opened the mind, because once I got when I first tried it, I was wary of it, because of the reputation it had. I had no urge, to become a drug addict. In fact, my only addiction back in the day, and I think it's what saved me today, is my bodybuilding, weightlifting, because that was my only thing, because I had a buddy of mine, he went to jail, and he was in there for 2 years, and he come out, he was all buffed and ripped and looking great. and which is one of the reasons when I went to jail, I wasn't really that sad, because I knew you can get a lot of stuff together in jail, and bodybuilding was one of them.
You seem to have had a pretty amazing jail stay. Well, I mean,
yeah.
it was probably your attitude about the whole thing. I mean, I'm sure Celebrity did some, but you just seem to have quite this. You've always had this authenticity to you, which I think is part of why you were probably targeted. Eric and I were talking about this a little bit before. I think authenticity seems to scare people, especially when we're talking about political and we're talking about laws and different things. None of those things are authentic.
Yeah.
But your authenticity, I think, of just being who you are and being so open with showing the world your spirit and just who you are, I think that was very scary to that entity of human beings. And I think
it always does. Yeah. Well, look who put me in jail. It was
absolutely.
It was George Bush.
Yeah, exactly.
It was George Bush. It was Ashcroft.
Yeah.
Ashcroft, the guy that hung the drapes over the titties, the cement titties.
I got, the thing on that is, we did, this is sort of how this transpired with me wanting to get you on the show, was we had done one of our episodes, and we did it on how the drug laws violate our Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
I mean, across the board,
Yes.
yes. Even in California, so I'm a 6-time convicted felon myself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I don't smoke weed. I actually do stay complete, clean and sober, just because I don't have a shut off switch. I used to smoke a ton of weed. I used to run around with the Grateful Dead, back in the years. Right. And I came to the realization meth was what was my drug of choice, and it literally almost killed me.
Sure.
And I tried I'm just going to drink or I'm just going to smoke weed, but it always took me back. And so for me, and again, I just speak for myself, that I have to keep as clear a head as possible. Otherwise I'm going to fuck myself up, but what, really, and again, I am fighting for legalization of all drugs. And the reason being is, number one, they violate our Bill of Rights. So much of the murder, so much of the crime, so much of everything has to do with the legality behind the drugs, not the drugs themselves. I fight for the safe injection sites, for people that can help save lives, but, you look again at the history of the drug laws, and you were saying, like makes you want to murder, of course, that all came from Harry Anslinger. Marijuana creates its users, insanity, criminality, and death. Right. And so they did this, Operation Pipe Dream, which is close to the name of your company, Nice Dreams, or your son's company. Is that right?
Yeah. It's my company. Yeah. Our company. Yeah.
Yeah. And I found the story so fascinating because I know, and I'd like you to tell it again if you could. And I've heard this, but I really want to, because I'd like you to tell it because I do have some questions behind it on how this is even legal, right? But you had the DEA that was requesting to buy bongs from you.
Yeah. It's on tape. They actually taped everything. It's like Trump, his insurrection. Everybody take their own evidence.
Right.
They not only did it, but they taped themselves doing it. And so the DEA did the same thing with us. They were so funny. I mean, it was so ridiculous. When you think of what they did, and also let's back up a little bit. why did they go after the pot thing? Was because they lost prohibition. They ran out of a job.
Absolutely.
They had no job. And
Yep.
why was alcohol prohibited in the first place? A racist law.
All
A
of them
racist
were.
law against the Italians, the French, everybody that drank wine. Why did they drink? Why did they drink wine? Because the water was unsafe. That's why people drank wine. That's why Johnny Appleseed went around selling apples. It wasn't because an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It was so that the farmers could make cider, so they could live and not be afraid of water, because every European on the planet was deathly afraid of water, because that's what created in their mind, created plagues. And water was never healthy to drink, because animals and people and definitely, they would sully up everything. And so we're going back to bad habits, creating alcohol, which created the alcohol problem of people getting drunk. By the way, alcoholism was responsible for the terrible English cooking. Did you know that? Did you know that?
No.
Like the terrible English cooking. Well, the lady of the house would put on the food to cook, and the father would be in the pub too long, and so the food would get overcooked. and the wife would be pissed off at the guy anyway, and she'd just slap it in front of him and say, "There's your supper. Shut up." All because of alcoholism. Because alcohol affected the brain in a very negative way. And when I took my drug education course in prison, which I signed up for right away, I got to be best friends with the drug counselor, because we could hang out in prison together. And then I love learning about the dangers of alcohol. How alcohol really is the main ingredients in ether, which and when they used to use ether, what they would do, they would bring you to the brink of death. and then they would operate on you, and then they would bring you back. Sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes they bring you back.
yeah. Alcohol, marijuana has always been medicine. The Chinese documented it 3,000, 5,000 years ago, where it was used for cancer. It was used for, we've had civilizations so advanced on this planet, that disappeared. And now we're rediscovering all these things. We're just now discovering. But I'm going to tell you another thing that what marijuana does. And this is, I think, one of the strongest things. It puts you in direct contact with God.
Yeah.
And see, we all are of God. And like our phone, we all have a God app. Every living being on this planet, because if you read the Bible, it says everything that God made was good, and everything that was not made by God was not made. And so we're talking about everything. And because we have a God app, and because God is our creator, and because we all are here for a reason. Every one of us are here for a reason. And that's why you have to love one another, because we're all here for a reason. Now, one of the reasons might be to piss somebody else off,
Right.
But that's the reason. There is a reason for Donald Trump. Now, you may dislike him, dislike everything he does. And, when I get in arguments, because I have a lot of Trumpy friends. I have a ton of Trumpy friends. They're all wealthy, and the reason they like him is because Trump, will
Money.
keep them from paying taxes. All that crap. It's a little thing, but here's the thing: we are in a physical universe. Good would not exist without bad.
Absolutely.
You need both.
Yep.
Now you can rail against one or the other, but you need both, because without one or the other, we don't exist.
Yeah.
We are in a physical universe, and for every action there's a reaction. In order to have the reaction, you have to have the opposite.
Yep.
There has to be opposites.
Absolutely.
And I took it one thing further, man. This is an epiphany that just kills me now when I think about it, because it hurts the brain to think about it. Okay, for every action there's a reaction. Okay, the universe that we live in now, the physical universe, is endless. It's eternal. It's endless. The more further we find the so-called edge of the universe, is more universe.
Yep.
And then we're told that this is only one of the zillions of universes. And so that's the hugest, biggest something that you could ever get.
We can't even comprehend that.
No.
Okay, but listen to this one. What is the opposite of everything?
Nothing.
Nothing.
That's the spiritual world.
Yeah. Yeah.
The spiritual world is so infinite, small, tiny. There's nothing there except spirit. That's the only thing that's there. And the only substance in the spirit world is love. And if you think love is only a feeling, but it's real. It's so real. It's so real. It powers. It's a power of the universe is really love.
Absolutely.
And the dangers of the universe is lack of love.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And just like you said, that you have one side, you're going to have the other. If you've got love, you're going to have hate, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, that's what our show here is literally about.
I see that. And when you're dealing with hate, you're dealing with ignorance.
Yeah.
That's all you're dealing with.
And fear.
Ignorance and fear. Yeah.
That's what ignorance is. That's what ignorance is. It's fear. Fear is the unknown. You have no idea. And because we are eternal creatures and we have freedom of our freedom of thought, basically, we have to go. We are allowed to go into that fearful world, but we also have a choice of recognizing what the fearful world is all about, and that's what enlightened people are. You see, that's what, and you figure out what is the opposite of light?
Dark.
But what is darkness? The absence of light. Absence of light.
For sure. For sure.
See?
For sure.
There's nothing to fear. That's why there's absolutely nothing to fear. Number one, we are eternal beings. Now, if we're here, say, as Donald Trump, we're going to go through everything that Donald Trump is going to go through, like he's gone through, like he's going through now, and the funny thing, what cracks me up, I laugh because I'm glad I can do these podcasts because my wife won't listen to me. She thinks I'm full of shit. My son, if I start going, he'll just, I don't want to hear that. Nobody listens to me because here's my epiphany. Here's what I got now, because you guys deal with hate and fear. So I want you to check this out. Right now, the Democrats, Joe Biden, they've got big problems here. They can't decide whether or not to get rid of the filibuster.
Right.
I mean, I gotta laugh at that because it's a rule. It's nothing. It's not. It's a rule. It's a fucking rule. It's like you got to wear a mask, or if you want to go somewhere, you got to wear a mask. Okay, what's so hard about that?
Right.
Well, there's people like, I'm not wearing a mask. It's fucking hilarious. Okay, now listen to this. Here's Biden's biggest problem. Should we take $1.5 trillion or shall we hold up for $3.5 trillion? I mean, what the fuck is the difference?
We're talking
What
trillions.
is the difference? And Joe Manchin, oh my God, what's wrong with Joe? He's holding everything up. Do you know what they're doing? I'll tell you what they're doing. They're hogging the press. They're hogging the microphone. They got. They're hogging the news coverage. They can't go anywhere because Biden and the Democrats have got him. They got him because what are we going to do about Joe Manchin and that girl? What's wrong with her? She looks like she won't vote for this $1 trillion package, the biggest in history, no matter how you look at it. And it's going to give us everything. Oh, and the debt ceiling. Don't forget the debt ceiling. Oh my God. They're going to shut down the government, which they've been doing over the past 4 years with Trump and with Obama and everything. And then you got Mitch McConnell, and then you got Pence. Pence was just done saying, you guys are making a big deal over an insurrection that and you're being really mean to my boss, Donnie Trump. I mean, I'm
It's insane.
I'm in hysterics, and here we are. Here, this is where we're at. And now look at us. Here we're talking philosophically about the war on drugs, which we know. But if it wasn't for the war on drugs, I wouldn't be as relevant as I am now.
True.
Gotcha.
You wouldn't even have a show.
Right.
So we owe our existence to that. And what it is, by the way, it's a wall.
You're like my spiritual guru.
And we could just talk about this all day if you just want to hang out, man.
Yeah. Listen. I just watched the Grateful Dead documentary.
Yes.
Which one?
I never knew. I knew about them. But being a musician and everything else, there was nothing that they played that that I had to learn. In other words, because they were like acid jam band, and so was I. But I watched the Grateful Dead, man. I love that. Oh, I love that whole, man. We just learned. Once you learn, like I did. I mean, again, the power of the God app that I talk about.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sitting at the Palisades with a pool, with a multi. There's 2 houses built. One next door to me, one across the street. They're both going for around 20 million, $30 million homes. I'm in the middle of it. And my wife's pissed off because this construction and they took away our view, and she's all pissed off. And they asked me about it. I couldn't be happier. Can you imagine? And the guy says, "Doesn't that construction bother you?" I says, "It's the sound of money." Are you kidding? People are working. I love that sound. I love to see people work.
Yeah.
No. Oh man, my life. Even when I went to jail, like I said, I'm ready to go get embedded with the troops. You know what my job was in prison? Taking pictures with everybody.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, Chong, come on, take a picture. Okay, no problem. They had to change the visiting rules because we started getting the visiting room packed every weekend because they're all there to see me, to take pictures with me. And so the ward said, "Okay, no more pictures." And then one day, this guy came in. He'd been driving forever, and he's in a wheelchair. And he asked me, and of course I'm going to take a picture with him. But here's the key to do in prison. Whenever you do anything, report report it yourself. Almost like what Trump does when he
I
breaks
was
the
going
law.
to say that.
When he breaks the law, he tells everybody he's going to break the law,
Right.
and then he breaks the law, and then he almost dares you to do something about it.
Yeah. I love the way you think. I really do. I mean, you're just kind of a very easygoing, and you know, I mean, in all of your movies, you portrayed that same thing, you know,
Yeah.
just this like whatever, you know, kind of. And you know, the thing on, you know, I wanted to ask you now. I know that you know the story was kind of that the DEA had sort of infiltrated the business and mailed.
Yeah.
How is that even legal? I mean, it's like a cop going in your house planting drugs and then going and arresting you for it.
Oh, they did it. They absolutely had no qualms doing it. It's a racist law, you see.
Yeah.
See, if you're on the wrong side of the racism, they don't care. You know,
Yeah.
they'll shoot a black guy and say, "Well, he came at me with a knife,
Yep.
and here's the knife."
Yep.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, that's why this video, our video thing is just screwed everything up for those guys. And that's what happened when they arrested me. I was promoting our product at a head shop in Arlington, Texas. And you know, I'm like, you know, I'm not doing anything crooked. I'm not doing anything illegal. You know, I might be doing something illegal, but you know, fighting Jim Crow, that's illegal.
Sure.
And I would do that in a minute, and I have done it. So I was in Arlington, Texas, and these DEA agents come in, and they had headbands on. Now, no one was wearing a headband back then, except the DEA agents, and they had their cameras in their backpack, and so right away the Arlington head shop, they knew they were DEA, and so they had girls put the staff there put on DEA T-shirts with an arrow, you know, and they followed these guys around with these T-shirts. So everywhere you went, there'd be a girl standing next to him saying DEA. You know, I never got the memo. They come up to me and they said, "Can we talk to you outside? It's a little noisy in here." Well, was it? And I said, "Sure." So we went outside, and we're sitting there, and the guy positioned himself so the camera was kind of on me. You know, he had to turn his back so the camera would hit it. And he's asking me things. These Chong bongs that you sell, they're not just for tobacco use only, are they? And I said, "No, of course." He says, "What are they for?" I said, "For marijuana, you know, for pot." He says, "Okay, okay, that's all. Then thank you." I still didn't get it. I never got it.
And so that was so again, it goes back to like freedom of speech, right? I mean,
Totally.
if you know, because if you had said they were for tobacco, then it's not paraphernalia, right?
Yeah. If I had said that, then that legally they would have been, "Oh, okay, you know, they got me." Well, they recorded all this crap. Now, another thing, but I can't get mad at. You know, in the bong business, especially back then, there was a lot of undercover agents hanging around the clubs, hanging around me, you know. And there was this one guy, I remember him. And anyway, when I got busted, I saw him again. He said, "I knew you were going to get busted." And I said, "How did you know?" He said, "Oh, they had a list of people, you know, they send out to everybody, and I got it. I got a hold of it, and I saw your name on it." I said, "Well, why the fuck didn't you say something?" And he just looked at me like, "Oh, I never thought of that," you know.
Give me a heads up or something, right?
Well, no, he's the DEA.
Yeah.
And then I'm in my house, and these DEA agents rolled up on their bicycles and their bikes, and none of them looked like they rode a bike ever. You know, they look like, I don't know, they look like salesmen out on an outing or something. But they parked across the street from me. And finally, I walked over, what's up? And they said, oh, we're just admiring the plants at your house. And, you know, the jungle. My wife did a beautiful job. And I said, oh. And he said, do you have any more plants like that growing? And I said, yeah, everywhere, you know. And they were like hinting. And then we had helicopters over our house all the time. And it was kind of annoying because, you know, they were right over there. They did everything. And here's the greatest one. They put a financial guy into our business. They snuck him in there somehow. Anyway, the guy turns out to be this business genius. And he showed my son what he was doing wrong with the business. He showed my son little things that you got to take care of this, you got to do that. And he was like embedded in the company. And then in order to sell it, because our company, you know, we were hip that you're not supposed to sell it to people, you know, in certain states. And so they tried on the phone to get it, and we wouldn't do it. And finally, they sent agents into bank to LA to our shop here, and they actually bought a lot of bonds. And then they said, listen, we want to stay here and visit LA for a while. We're from DA. Would you mind sending this back? Well, we said no, we couldn't do it. But I'm quite sure that we had an undercover agent in there somewhere, and they sent it.
Wow.
And that's what they did. That's what they had to do in order to have a charge against me.
Wow.
Hey, want to hear something else? When I went to court, I'm supposed to be there to plead guilty to everything. You know, that was the deal. And if I didn't plead guilty, they would go after my son and my wife.
Wow. Wow.
And so I'm standing before the judge, and you know, I'm a pothead, so my memory isn't that great. And so when you ask me questions, the easiest way for anybody is to tell the truth.
Right.
And so they said, and this Chong Glass you're the sole proprietor of this glass business? And I said, no. And everything stopped. No. I said, no, I'm not the proprietor. You know, because that's the truth.
Right.
It was your son, right?
And they said, okay, hold just a minute there. Approach the bench, and they talked about it. They said, you realize that we've got this deal of blah, 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 blah. And I said, yeah. So I'm going to ask you again, are you the sole owner of the business? And again, I told the truth. I said, well, no, I'm not. And so then the judge said, well, just move along. It's okay. Never mind. So they said, oh, it's okay. He's not going to lie. He's going to tell the truth. And we can't deal with that. But
we can't deal with the truth.
We can't deal with the truth.
Yeah. So here I end up, you know, and I actually kind of gave in at the end, because then, you know, because I said, there's no way they're going to put me in jail for selling bonds, glass.
Right.
Where, I mean, that's incredible, you know.
Right.
And there was nothing, you know. And what they did, they lied. They told George Bush people told everybody that we were making billions of dollars with the bond business, and we were financing the Taliban or the ISIS.
There's the fear. There's the fear.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what they said, and they stuck with it. And by the way, you know what day they sentenced me on? 9/11.
Wow.
Seriously?
Wow.
I was sentenced to jail on 9/11.
Wow. Wow.
And they moved it to the big courtroom. They thought there was going to be a lot of protest and everything else. They were all ready for it. One guy showed up with a cardboard sign and said, "Free marijuana."
Now you had on your, and another thing I found really interesting was the indictment or the things basically referred to Up in Smoke, right? Or your older movies, and that you made the cops look bad.
Mind not, man. What are we gonna do? What do you guys want?
Nothing. Hey, man, obskis. You hear, man? Get outski, man. It pays. Vamos.
Sounds very Latin. Could be the Mexican connection. Better get this down.
Hey, did you get the door?
Hello, radio dispatch. This is codenamed Hard Hat. Codenamed Hard Hat. Do you read me? Over.
Was that lard ass?
Hard Hat. Codenamed Hard Hat. Do you read, radio dispatch?
Hey, got something for you, lard ass.
Hard Hat. Hard Hat. Do you understand?
Lard ass.
Hard Hat. Radio dispatch. Do you know who this is?
No, who is this is?
This is Sergeant Stadinko.
Oh, yeah? You know who this is?
No.
Bye-bye, lard ass.
Yeah, we made fun of law enforcement. That was in the indictment or the charge, that I should go to jail because I made fun of law enforcement in my movies. But I did something else even more stupider than that. The arresting officer started hanging with me. And he was there, and my lawyer told me, "Don't talk to anybody, blah, keep it blah." And so the arresting officer, it was, as cops are, they're kind of nice, you get to know them. I have fun with them when they when they busted in my house, because they look like trick-or-treaters, because my door is never locked, the front door is never locked, and it's glass. And I could see them outside, and they got their SWAT gear on, their whole helmets and SWAT riot gear and everything else. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? And so they knocked on the door again, and the door's open. So I opened the door, and they come busting in. They says, "We have a warrant." And they show me the warrant. I guess I couldn't see anyway. And they went, and so the cop says, "Okay, do you have any marijuana in the house?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Where is it?" And I says, "Every room in the house." I don't know. They couldn't find it. They couldn't find any weed. So they come back to the sergeant or the guy in charge, and he said to him, we couldn't find any. He says, "Can you tell us where it is?" I said, "Well, there's a bud on my shop downstairs. I know where that is." The guy comes back a few minutes later. "It's not there, sir." And I says, "What? It's in front of your face, man. It's right on the..." And then the guy got all apologetic. He said, "Well, we don't have our dogs." I said, "Well, that's another thing. What kind of bust is that? A marijuana bust when you don't bring your dog?" Then about that time, my wife, she's all dressed now, and she said, "Let's go." I said, "What?" She said, let's go get our coffee." And the cop overheard her. He goes, "We're not finished here yet, ma'am." And my wife looked at him very coolly. She goes, "Are we under arrest?" He said, "No." She said, "Well, we're going to go have coffee." And, "Well, you're going to leave us in the house?" She goes, "Do we have a choice?" And so the guy goes, "It's a wrap. It's a wrap." She literally kicked him out just by telling him that we're going to go have coffee. Yeah, I did it for many years, the whole routine, because it was so. But you know what they were looking for? They were looking for weapons.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the big deal. That was the big deal.
Wow.
And I had a strong box upstairs, and in fact, I'm walking around with my jockey shorts, and I had a bit of a Woody, from the morning. I don't know. It wasn't a nice sight. And the arresting officer, I think he was a little homophobic or something. He said, take him upstairs and get him dressed." So I'm upstairs getting dressed, and they find the little, and it looks like it could be a gun box, but it was full of cash from our T-shirt sales, and the fuckers took it. They took
Wow.
all the cash. Just boom, just because that's really their main job, is to
Yeah.
look for the cash, because they get to keep it.
Yep.
They keep the cash.
Yep.
Does it ever get? It didn't even get documented. They took it, or
No,
Yeah.
no.
Wow.
It was just,
Wow.
well, they said they found, I guess, I don't know. They never showed me shit after that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, I'm talking to the arresting officer, and I told him, I says, he was talking about, I don't know, movies or something. Anyway, I told him, I said, I could make you famous. He said, how so? I said, well, Up in Smoke? He said, yeah. I said, the Sergeant Stadenko in the movie? He said, yeah. Stacy Keach? I said, yeah. He said, yeah. I says, well, Stadenko is the name of a real cop in Vancouver that used to fuck with us all the time. He was always busting us for weed, 10, bags of weed, and we're smoking a joint. He was a real dick. And so I called our character Stadenko, first in a record and then in the movie. Well, Stadenko got so famous that they shipped him off to Turkey. He spent the rest of his career in Turkey. And when he came back to Vancouver, the narcs in Vancouver called me, and they said, "Hey, Tommy, this is Sergeant, for narcotics." I said, "What's up?" He said, "No, you're not in trouble. No." He says, "Abe Stadenko is retiring, and we're giving him a retirement party." He says, "Can you send us a poster, Up in Smoke poster, and signed by you and Cheech?"
That's
I said,
awesome.
"Sure." Sure. So we sent him a poster, and apparently Abe wasn't that happy.
I just love that lard ass.
Yeah. Oh, we had fun, man.
The thing about that is, it seems like, for them to say that you made fun or made the cops look bad, it was a comedy farce. I mean, you guys weren't being like regular gentlemen walking around. It was a comedy. It was a farce. I mean, it had to be big on both sides and be that, outrageous for it to be so funny. That was the magic of it.
Yeah, I was saying,
magic.
I was saying earlier, we were talking, and I was like, I mean, if you had intelligent cops in that show, it'd be like sitting and watching your 9 months in federal prison.
Right.
Yeah.
Be about as boring
funny.
as shit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, here's how the wheel turns. Last weekend, I was at a benefit for first responders, which meant cops and that. And I came home with a goodie bag, and in the goodie bag, there's a cop hat, one of those hats with the police thing, and a shirt with the badge on it.
Right.
I got all the cop paraphernalia, and I'm there offering them. They had a little booth set up, tasting booth, all the food that, and they had one for whiskey and that. And so I said, "Where's the pot? Where's the pot desk?" And they all and they laughed, and they said, "Next year you can have one. You bring your pot thing." And so next year I'm going to have a pot booth at the cop thing.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, because cops, man, they're just bouncers basically, and they just have to do whatever their boss tells them to do. So I never blame them. There is racist cops in that, but again, what are you going to do, man? I went on a ride along with the cops one time. I got a real good friend here. I had, because I used to work out at Gold's Gym, and that's where a lot of the cops would work out in a gym. And then, so I made a lot of friends, and I made friends with Earl Struthers. He was actually up for the Homeland Security job when Obama was in the, Earl's a black guy, a cop, been a cop forever. And I think he's the head of the airport police or anything, but he was a bodybuilding buddy of mine. And so he one day he said, "Hey, would you like to go on a ride along?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And so I want to spend a night with the police. So I understand what the cops are going through, man,
Wow.
because they're targets.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you put a big target on yourself, you dress up, and then you go out into the public.
Yep.
And you got people that really want to kill you, you know, or hurt you for sure.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're dealing with. So when you stop a black guy in a car, you're not worried about his rights. You're worried about your life.
Yeah.
And so when you walk up, and if you're the least bit freaked out, you know, about the guy for one reason or another, you know, because that was the other thing. Because, you know, I'm married. My first wife was black, and Maxine, and I have 2 black mixed kids. And my first band they're all black. And I got a lesson on how to be black in America. And I'll tell you, it's a whole different thing, you know, because being black, I remember one time we're driving down from Vancouver, and we stopped at a service station. It was late at night, and it was early in the morning. And this one hippie was there, and he had long hair, and the guy is reading him, ragging him up for sleeping there or something. And anyway, it struck me as funny. And so I started laughing, you know, because, you know, the long-haired hippie, I don't know, it just cracked me up. This is before Cheech and Chong. And so the owner goes, "What are you laughing at?" To me, you know, and I just came from Canada, you know, and I owned a nightclub up there, you know, and my buddy, the drummer, black drummer, literally grabs me, and before I could answer, he just hustled me outside.
Wow.
And I said, you know, what's with that guy? And Freddie's name, he says, "He's got a gun. He'll use it."
Wow.
I said, well, reality check, you know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
You know, yeah, reality check.
Hey, so what? So when you guys with Cheech, what happened with you guys when you guys separated?
He did a movie without me. And when I say without me, like all the other movies we did, I kind of wrote and directed and you know, did the whole thing, you know, like we did, same as our records, you know. I was the guy that would, you know, start stuff rolling, and then Cheech would come in and add his stuff, and you know, Cheech would, the way we work, Cheech would tell me his story about his life, and then we would put him into records, and then eventually put him into movies. Well, his nature is like a college kid. Like he sort of he was never a low rider. He was never the Cheech that we saw in the movies.
Right.
He was a college kid, and he hung with artists. He's a very artistic guy, and so his real persona was nowhere near the lowrider. And he had this urge. Well, when this kid got deported by mistake, Cheech saw that, you know, I was born in East LA. Cheech, the Springsteen song that Cheech took and redid it. And when he did the song, up until then, I wrote most of the songs, you know, the lyrics, and the, you know, Basketball Jones was mine, Up in Smoke was mine. For the most part, Mexican Americans was definitely his, but I was the one that showed him how to do the, you know, put it to music and that. And so when we got around to doing Born in East LA, first of all, the record that he did, you know, the vocal he did, he never had any role for me in there. And so then he put one in there as a cop. You know, it was like all of a sudden I go from being a partner and the star to being a, what do you call it, an extra, you know.
You said a cop?
Yeah. And so I told Cheech, no, I can't do that. You know, I can't do that. So then he started getting a little, and by that time I directed all the movies, you know, and as a director, at first with Up in Smoke, it was like a partner thing. We would do it together because we had Lou Adler was down as the director, and left Cheech and I. So I had to direct, both Lou Adler, Cheech, and everybody, and I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I thought I didn't need the title, but when Cheech started doing his own project, there was no room for me, period. And I kind of took offense because everything that we did, he was the lead singer, and all of a sudden I'm in there and I'm not even on the on the star thing, so I took that as an insult. And so then he got a deal with Columbia Pictures. And again, and there's a guy named Herb Azoff. He was the manager of the Eagles, and there's a whole culture of managers and people that sort of like, and Trump's one of them too, where they'll buy companies and then break them up. They'll buy successful groups, and they'll just take the singer and leave everybody else. You know what I mean? And that's what Irving Azoff did with Cheech. He took Cheech and he separated Cheech from me, and that was it. And then next thing I know, Cheech isn't talking to me. He's going to he become like Don Johnson's partner.
Right.
He became a cop.
Right.
He became a cop. And at first I was hurt. I was it stopped my career, and I tried to do a movie without him, and I had him in there like as a cameo, but you could see the difference, with Cheech and Chong, so powerful, that there nothing could even come close to it. And so then I realized, I had to go learn how to do stand up on my own, And so what I did, I did what you do. Like if you're in prison, you make use of your time. You don't sit around and mope and that. And so what I did, I had to go learn how to do stand up on my own. Wow. And I did. And then I got bored, so I got my wife doing stand up with me.
I love your TikToks.
Yeah. So
TikToks are great.
then my wife came in, and then when Cheech and I got back together again, she was funny. She was standing over me one day. You're not leaving me with Cheech. And I said, no, you're coming with me, girl.
Now your wife's very funny.
Oh, she is. She had to learn. She worked at it. But and right now we're in limbo. Man, right now. Oh man, I got plans. Woo, I got plans.
Because you had to cancel. You had to cancel a lot of your shows then, as this COVID, huh?
Yeah. No problem. I don't want to die. I don't want to get sick.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Not for a few laughs. But you know what I did do? I figured out a way to save the planet.
So the solution that Tommy comes up with, I have actually cut from this video because he requested at the end of it that we not share this information. So I do have this documented, and so at a later point, I may actually release this information once he gives me the thumbs up or gives me the go ahead.
But I figured out a way to pull our country, the world together.
Oh, good.
And I'll tell you, it's no secret. There's only one company that's been around for forever that has the ability to create an ideal country. We're never going to go back to the way things used to be. No. It's just too uncomfortable. In a movie theater, sitting next to people, you don't know their story,
Yeah.
unless they have the vaccination rule at the movie studios, which they probably will have,
Right.
eventually.
Right.
But then you have people saying about the phony vaccine cards and that,
Right.
But
Yeah.
isn't it ridiculous? It's much easier to get a vaccine than it would be to get a phony vaccine card.
Or to get COVID.
Yeah.
I'd rather get a shot than COVID.
Can you imagine? But we have idiots.
Yeah.
They're
Lots
here.
of them. Lots of them.
Because of the nature of the planet.
Yep.
Of humanity. Yeah.
When those when the buffalo went over the cliff, when the natives would get them over the cliff, there was a lot of them in there that didn't want to go over that cliff. But they couldn't help it because the guys behind them were pushing them over the cliff. See, they were in that gang. See, there's quite a few buffalo that says, this doesn't feel right to me, man. What are we running for? What are we running from? You see? But they had to go over in order to feed the population. They had, that was their form of food and clothing and everything else. So I don't want to say every soul on earth. Of course you can't. You can never do that. What I really want to do is create a society where you look forward to waking up to go to work.
Yeah.
You can't wait to work.
It's having the job that doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Tommy, I'm in, man. You sold me. I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Like for sure.
Now I want to be a part of it.
It's being done. It's being done.
I
and
believe
because
that.
you guys know about it. I was feeling a little weird because Cheech doesn't know about this idea. My wife doesn't know about this idea. My kids don't know about this idea. Why? Because I don't want to have a discussion about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the pros and cons about it.
I want to
All
dream.
I want to do, I'm an artist. I want to create my vision.
Yes.
You see, and so I will talk to people that will honor my vision.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love it. I think it's
Absolutely.
great. I think you should call it Operation Nice Pipe Dreams. Right? Nice pipe dreams.
Nice dreams. Pipe dreams. Operation Nice Dreams.
No, Operation Nice Pipe Dreams.
Nice pipe dreams. Operation Nice. Okay, I like that. Operation Nice Pipe.
Well, I
dreams.
want to commend
But you
you.
got to
for
say it
a bit-
right, though. You got to go Operation Nice Pipe Dreams.
I want to commend you, Joe, for having a dream that brings humanity to a situation that's real humans, because that's what we forget when we are, standing on one side or the others. We forget the story in the middle. That's what Eric and I try to do with this story. Me as a transgendered human, Eric as a cis white male. Like, we try to bring this dynamic to issues that say, hey, this is the human side. Like, this is real human life. And the fact that you want to see both sides is what's really so impressive to me, because let's not forget the ones that are over opposing, they're humans too. And so when we see both sides in complete humanity, we see ourselves, because each and every one of us hold each side of those things in us.
And once I can understand, I mean, that's the premise of it. It's like just gaining an understanding, of it's like walking in the shoes of other people. I want to understand what you're thinking. I want to understand your life. I want to understand where you're coming from. And then I want you to understand where I'm coming from too,
Yeah.
And that's where things can come together.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we're really striving for we're supposed to be striving for the same thing. We breathe the same air.
Yes.
We eat the food, with the water, all that stuff, it affects it. And racism is just ignorance. It's just pure ignorance. It often wondered, like, I never liked the movie Star Wars. I really took issues with Star Wars, because I figured but they're so advanced that we're riding around in the stars, why are people fighting with swords. It was like, duh, you know. It's crazy. It's crazy, and same as some of these great stories and plays and that, you know, they said, oh, we got that from the Bible. We got, yeah, this is from the Bible. Bible's the greatest book ever written. So why don't we make movies about these?
Right.
I mean, yeah, Charlton Heston, yeah, and be real about it. Be real about it. Like for instance, Jesus was never a Christian.
Right.
He was a Jew.
Never a Christian.
Never.
He never set him foot in any church.
Right.
Maybe the synagogue.
Right.
But even there, he hung out at the back, out in the front with the money changers. He never went inside.
Right.
But he did. He talked to the elders. And they would listen to him. They listened because he had more to say than they did.
And he wasn't white.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he was not white.
And he wasn't that white.
Blonde hair,
blue eyes,
the blonde hair,
blue eyes and blonde hair, and he rode a donkey. That was his mode of transportation.
Yeah.
When he wasn't walking.
He was a traveler.
Like baptism was all about cleanliness. It wasn't about cleaning your soul. No, you can't clean your soul. you can wash the dirt off your feet, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you can wash your funky elbows, you know, and your funky armpits. You know, that's when baptism works.
Yeah.
You know, when it cleans off the dirt. You know, but the soul it's eternal.
Yeah.
Eternal. Yeah. And the only thing you're changing is your mind.
That's
your
it.
thought. Your thought. That's the only thing.
That's it.
Now, when but you can't, you know, everybody has their own problem. My son married a Muslim lady, and we have we have Muslims in the family, and I love Ramadan. Because it's a great way to lose weight. You know, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
You
fast all the fasting.
You fast all day. And as soon as the sun goes down, you can eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, and it makes sense. It makes sense, you know, because now you got all day to do stuff, and then when you eat, then you just have one meal and you go to bed.
You get tired, I know.
No, I've been so blessed because I get these thoughts, you know, they come and oh, by the way, with weed, my one thing with weed, I had a guy tell me, in fact, it was a podcast. He said, what's your favorite strain? I said, I don't have one. I'm still looking for it. And then they said, well, I like indica, except it's too strong. And he started going bad rapping indica. I says, I think your problem is that you're not doing it right. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, let's say you were drinking whiskey and you had a glass of 101 proof whiskey. I said, would you down that? No, of course not. I said, well, it's the same as indica. If your indica is so strong, why would you smoke a whole joint?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, no one told you, the label said smoke a whole joint in order for this to work.
Right.
I says, the smell, one toke.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Take one toke, put it down.
You don't need the huge Chong bong or the Chong the joint, right?
That's a movie. That's a movie. So use your head.
Exactly.
If it's too strong, lighten up.
Yeah, I had a question for you. In the movie, when you guys did Up and Smoke, were you guys smoking weed in it?
In between shots, sometimes.
So you couldn't really do it on the.
we could do it anywhere if we wanted to, but neither Cheech or I are big potheads. Never have been. I'm a one toker.
Okay.
I got a whole ashtray of roaches here that I'm smoking. And I take a couple of tokes and put it up.
Yeah.
I've always done. Every once in a while, I'll get challenged. Snoop Dogg or someone, hand me a bong, and the old ego, kicks in, and I can do it. But I found it's like anything, like life, just take enough for yourself.
Yeah.
Life is like a cafeteria. You can load your plate up with everything that you're not going to eat, or you can just take what you need.
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah.
And if you take what you need, you don't go to sleep right away. You don't have weight problems. You don't have stomach aches. You know what I mean? All those.
Yeah.
I love what you said in one of your talks when you were talking about weed being medicine for the brain. How you said it kind of, and I'm going to paraphrase it and get it wrong, but how it shuts down that loud mind and allows you to create and become in that, like, touch your soul almost. And I'm with Eric. I'm a big advocate for what weed does for people and how it is medicine. I've just found that in the past with my addictive brain that I could take it too far. Not that the medicine is the problem. It was me. So
Totally.
I believe that what you said, that the creation and being able to shut down the brains, I thought that was just genius.
The other thing,
other
thing too is, when you go back to, the schedules, right? It's a Schedule 1, no medicinal purposes, according to, the federal government, right?
Yeah.
And we've identified obviously all kinds. And I know you had cancer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had prostate cancer, and and you give some credit to marijuana
for the healing,
allowing you to eat and stuff like that.
Well, what happened? I was all in on the holistic side, and I hooked up with a holistic doctor in Canada, and in fact, my wife's nephew turned me on because he became a holistic doctor too, and he had me on a regimen of pills and certain substance stuff to stay away from and so on, and I did it. But then I got that's when I had prostate cancer, and with prostate cancer, the doctors say, "Oh, don't worry, you'll die of something else. You'll probably get run over by a car first, so they cheer you up with that news, and so I but when I got rectal cancer, I was on Dancing with the Stars, and I think the stress and the activity, and I think, and I also had a biopsy. And the biopsy is a dangerous thing to do. If you got cancer, don't do a fucking biopsy.
Right.
It's just, it's a waste of time, and it spreads the cancer. And so I did a biopsy with my prostate, and next thing I know, I got rectal cancer, and I got a tumor on my rectum. Well, I had the marijuana people, start attacking me, but my son, at that time, he's very pragmatic, he goes, fuck off, get out of here. You're going to go to the best doctor we can find. And so, because we have doctor friends and, because of who I am, we found the best rectal surgeon that we could find. And sure enough, I had rectal cancer. You could feel the tumor. And then I went in and I did the radiation, and they radiated the tumor. And the guy goes, "Oh, while we were down there, we did your prostate too, so you're clean there." Yeah. And like a mechanic. Yeah. Oh yeah, we're down there. We're right down there. We move your balls aside a little bit, and then we shot it. We radiated that too. So I and once I got everything radiated, now they had to go in and operate and take out the tumor. And when they did that, then they took out the rectum.
Wow.
And when they did that, they moved the exit around to the front. And now I got a colostomy bag. And typical Chong, I was like, oh wow. Wow, this is a new experience. And right away I started thinking of the humor thing. And so the first thing I did was name my colostomy bag the Trump. and
your shit bag, right?
Yeah, of course I had a guy says, why did you call it the Trump? I said, oh, because it's always full of shit and hot air. You know? And but it saved my life. It saved my life. So I know I had to learn. I had to learn everything. And to my wife's credit, I mean, she put up with me as much as she could. But when the bag came into the play, I had to basically, I moved myself downstairs. I got my own room because I have to have my own bathroom, and I have to, because you never know, because you don't have any nerves. There's no warning system.
Oh wow!
Yeah, wow. None at all. In fact, if you smell it, it's too late. You know what I mean? And so I've had some really interesting moments on a plane, on an airplane. I could hear people say, "Is he still in there?" I had to do my fucking laundry. Are you kidding? I've had some great times. Me and my bag.
You've taught me a lot about life today. I love it.
But it saved my life. It saved my life, and so I don't curse it. I tried different things. I tried throwing the bags outside. To go to the bathroom because so we're on the second floor when I was upstairs, and so I tried tying the bag up and throwing it outside, and then next morning go and gather them up. Well, I forgot to gather up one, and the dog got into it.
Oh my God.
And he dragged it into the house. And everybody go, whoa, what the hell? What's he got there? What's he got there? And I said, oh, no, I got it. Never mind. So I've been learning. I've been having a lot of learning with it. No, I learned it's a feel. You got to touch it. There's a lot of things you got to learn about it, but the good thing, well, you don't have any of those other problems that people have,
Right.
So it's good. Find the humor. Find the humor. Find the humor.
Hi, Tommy.
Hi, Morella.
Yeah.
Italiano?
Español.
Espanol.
Yeah.
Oh, Morella. Are you Espanol?
Yeah, it's actually Mireia.
Medella. Oh, beautiful name.
Thank you.
That Spanish language is so beautiful.
I love it. I love talking Spanish in front of Eric. He doesn't understand it.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why.
They describe a guy hanging from his neck on a tree. Listening to the birds. Isn't that beautiful?
That's great. Yeah.
It's only Spanish. They're the only ones that can come up
The
with
way
that.
you translate some Spanish things, it does not sound as nice in English.
Oh, believe me, Cheech was giving me all the lessons.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, pendejo. Hey, my very good friend. We had a lot of fun.
That's great. Well, I'm glad that you were able to do the show with them. I'm excited for them.
Yeah, we had a great time. We're going to do more shows too.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'd love that. you know?
Yes, yes.
Anytime you get the urge, you give me a call. Okay.
Hey, thank you so much, Tommy. I really appreciate it, man. This was awesome.
Thank you, man.
Okay, I'll do that. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You know, one of the things I want to say real quick, and I didn't get to say to him, but you know, his mindset is amazing.
Jeez.
I mean, he's literally, it's almost just like, you know, we have troubles in life. You go through things in life, you have trauma, you know, issues that happen, and you just roll with them. I mean, it is what it is. There's things that are out of your control. And you know, and he has such a positive, you know, view of things. And I also found it very interesting, you know, when he was like, I'm not really a pothead.
Yeah, I know. Like that's pretty amazing, because I was thinking the whole time as he was talking, I was like, he's got a recovery mindset.
Yeah.
Like this is a recover yourself type of mindset. You know, it's not necessarily the abstinence part, it's the healing part.
Yeah.
And he gave us an amazing, enlightening, just trip down into healing, because I mean, we're talking about cancer in a colostomy bag, man. I mean, you know, we're talking about this in a way that
absolutely,
you know, he doesn't suffer with this. This is not a suffering. This is my life, and I'm blessed, and I'm grateful for everything that's happened. So
I love this spiritual stuff. I mean,
man.
It's like, I mean, to me, it's just like I wish we all had that. You know, he's got such a creative view of very creative.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
You know, and I like the humility part and within him too. You know, even with the stuff with Cheech, you know. And but yeah, so this was a fantastic show. I love this.
Outstanding.
I definitely want to look at maybe doing this again with him, because I love the way he thinks.
Yes.
So you got anything you want to finish up with, or?
Man, I just want to thank you for putting this together and reaching out to Tommy's people and making this happen. I mean, this has been by far one of the greatest moments of my recovery life, probably my life in general, is to be able to do something like this with a friend that I respect, you know, immensely. I love your mind. I love that what we do, and to have someone come on like that is, you know, just a beautiful human being. So I'm loving the show even more.
And that's exactly what it is. I mean, he really is. He is a beautiful mind, and you know, he's the mindset of like he'd never hurt anybody. He'd never hurt a fly. I mean, he's you know, you get that view. It's just like love. And I mean, I love what he talked about, especially in the very beginning. He's like, this is about love, but obviously, you know, we do have the opposite of hate, which is one of the things, obviously, that we explore in this show.
Absolutely.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. You know, when I think about the arrest that he went through and the issue.
Yeah.
But I also love his view. He's like, it is what it is. You know, kind of like, you know, it was just another experience that I had in life that not everybody's going to get an opportunity to go through.
Absolutely. And for everybody out there, whether you watch because I hope we'll put this, I mean, I think we'll put this on both of our platforms, our recovery platforms too, because for everybody out there who's felt that pull, I mean, he said that he knew he was here for something at the youngest age. I felt that thing too. Yeah. I'm sure you felt that we've all felt that little pull. Trust that pull. And where life takes you, trust that that's your journey. You know, stay out of toxic shame and stay out of those things that, you know, don't stay in the opposition, make it the opportunity. I mean, if Tommy taught us nothing else, he taught us how to take what looks like opposition and authentically turn it into opportunity. Yep. And I'm just blown away at this.
Yeah, because definitely, you know, even when you look at the substance or the marijuana or things like that, I mean, he is completely against, and especially with his mind, abusing it.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, it was a healing for me, you know. And I always thought, and it always stuck in my head, I always thought that like they were like smoking, like literally just in the movie. I'm thinking like they had to be smoking weed, you know, but it didn't sound like they were. you know.
No.
I mean, maybe they hit a couple joints here and there, but neither one of
Yeah.
them are potheads. But they played
Yeah.
that part, which is so, you know. So again, it was really fantastic.
Right.
But so yeah, again, I want to thank everybody for watching the show.
Yes.
Please subscribe to our channel. We're going to have a lot of other exciting things that we're working on.
Yep.
And as Lona, it is absolutely always wonderful being here with you.
Man, you too, bro.
And so again, thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you soon. Anything?
Everybody just love each other.
Yeah.
Heal through understanding, man.
Love you.
Whatever
Love you.
you are at opposition of, try to understand it.
Yep.
Knowledge is power.
And we
Knowledge is
love
power.
all of you listening out there, and
That's right, man.
we will see you soon.
That's right.